All right. So hello and welcome to 686 Network Security Firewalls. My name is Jason Zeller. If you guys haven't had me in class before, but I'm assuming you have by this point. Class, as far as structure, we're going to meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1:30. I will typically record Tuesday sessions. That's when we'll go through the class material and we'll go over the lecture parts and all that fun stuff. On Thursdays is typically when we'll do labs. I usually don't record that part, but I'm still on the WebEx during that part. Or not the WebEx, the Zoom session. As far as you guys on campus, you guys are obviously welcome to attend class. I don't do attendance in class, so it's kind of up to you to show up, and whether or not you show up is up to you. I'm not a babysitter. You guys paid tuition, it's up to you. But I would recommend paying attention and doing the labs, because at the end of the semester is a skills exam. And if you didn't pay attention to the labs and go through the material, there's no way you're passing the skills exam. So it's that simple. There is no answer key for that skills exam. It's you literally building it out. So there's no way to get to the end without actually doing the work, kind of thing. Just doesn't, there's no way of doing it. This class will follow the Palo Alto content. So you guys will learn to be essentially Palo Alto networks engineers. And so for those of you not familiar with Palo Alto, they're kind of the industry leading firewall. There's several out there. You have like the Cisco ASA, you have Sonic Walls you might have heard of, Fortinet. There's all sorts of different firewalls out there. But Palo Alto is usually the cream of the crop, so to speak, when it comes out in industry. Particularly when you're dealing with the government sector or high-end corporate firewalls. Not cheap, they're actually really expensive firewalls. So you guys will be trained on good firewalls. The lessons that you learn, the concepts that you learn will be applicable to any firewall. So you'll learn the actual technology that Palo Alto uses, but the concept of what they're doing is applicable to other people's hardware. So there will be a time in the middle of the semester where I will actually demonstrate what you're learning in the Palo Alto side, actually on something like OpenSense or pfSense, which is also common. You'll tend to see OpenSense and pfSense common in the small to medium business range, where they don't have the thousands of dollars to spend on a firewall. And they can generally get most of what they need done at a small and medium business size, done with a pfSense or an OpenSense firewall. So those two are generally open source firewalls. They can be done on a PC that's running as a firewall, or you can buy little devices that are actually running that as an operating system. We'll cover a little bit of that as well. So you'll see a little bit of Palo Alto, actually all Palo Alto, and then a little bit of pfSense, OpenSense mixed in along the way. Let's see. Other stuff on the first day here. Blackboard is going to be used for all the course announcements, so pay attention to your announcements when something comes through. If I have to cancel class, move class, something like that, it's going to come through a Blackboard announcement. Let's see, course schedule, all that's in here. PowerPoints, my recorded lessons, all that stuff's in Blackboard. Your lab submissions, when we get to doing labs, there are going to be, 16 hands-on labs in this class, not including the skills exam at the end. So generally 1 to 2 labs a week is usually the way it works out. It's usually about 1 lab a week. There's 1 or 2 lessons that have 2 labs in a week. Labs will generally take you, they're a little bit longer than your Cisco labs. So they're going to take you about the full hour, sometimes up to an hour and a half to complete those kind of labs. You can do those labs many times over and over and over. So there's no restriction there. It's all using NetLab. You guys are probably familiar with NetLab at this point, given that you had to have Cisco to get here. The other LMS you'll work with is Palo Alto Networks Academy, and I'm working on getting that link, so you guys will see that in the introduction here in a little bit. Works very similar to like what you guys did in the Cisco classes. So when you were in the Cisco classes, you had Cisco NetAcad. This is the Palo Alto version of that. So I'll get you a link to get you in there. You'll just create an account. That is where you will have the reading materials as well as take your quizzes. Quizzes and final exam will all be done in there. And then NetLab itself is where we'll complete the labs. However, the links are going to come directly from Blackboard for those. So if you are taking another Cisco class or something like that at the same time for whatever reason, note that you'll sometimes have issues in your browser, because once you start taking the labs through my class, you'll need to do other classes in a private window. So you'll, like if you're using Chrome, you just go start a private window. then you can go to labs.fhsu.edu. Once you start using My Class, it sets a cookie and it does a single sign-on. You no longer use a login and password. It just takes care of it all for you. Anybody got any questions so far? All right. Other links in here, I'll go back to the syllabus in a second. Class split, like I said, Tuesdays are going to be recorded. That's generally where I'll do the lectures. We'll talk about the concepts, etc. Thursdays is when we do the lab. All right. There may be some Thursdays where we don't have class and you guys are just responsible to go do the lab. So it's kind of depends on how it falls, particularly this semester where I'm working on the Cybersecurity Institute and some stuff like that. There may be reasons that we may not have class that particular day, or we're doing something else during that Thursday session. Let's see here. You'll see this cybersecurity survival guide. If there's a newer version, I'll get it out here. This is the current one that I had. This is not something that you absolutely have to read, but I strongly encourage you to go through it. It's going to have all the security best practices that are out there in the industry right now. So it should be something that you're familiar with, regardless of whether you're going to do Palo Alto or not. It's just general cybersecurity information you should know from that survival guide. All right, we'll go back and look at the syllabus. So nothing super fancy here. As far as the schedule, it's pretty much a module a week. So this first week is just an introduction, no homework, nothing like that, nothing crazy. As a matter of fact, I'm waiting on the Palo Alto stuff for you guys to get logged in. We should have that by Thursday. Shouldn't be a problem. After that, it's pretty much a module a week all the way till the end, where week 14, you'll end up doing 2 modules. Those are much smaller modules. For you undergrad students, you'll just have the skills exam. You have 2 weeks to complete that. And then during finals week, we'll have the final exam as well. If you are a graduate student, there is a graduate project component of this class, and I'll have more information for that after about midterm. All right. Point breakdown, discussion board is 50 points. Just go into the discussion board. It's literally an introduction, the easiest 50 points you'll ever get. Just give me an introduction and what you're doing. Labs, there's are 10 points apiece, so you'll have 160 points there. Chapter quizzes, there's 14 of those, so 140 points. Final exam is 100 points, and then you'll have the skills exam, which note is worth 200 points. So notice that skills exam is weighted really heavy. And that's because you either have the skills or you don't, kind of thing. All right. And then for the graduate students, you'll also have that graduate project component, which is another 100 points. Anybody got any question on grading scale, points, anything like that? Pretty straightforward. All right. The grades for the chapter quizzes and everything, that's going to be stored in the Palo Alto networks. So you'll want to make sure you're keeping up to date with the grade book in that system. For everything on labs and everything else, that's going to show up in the Blackboard system. By midterm, I'll merge whatever's currently done in the Palo Alto into the grade book into Blackboard. And then I'll do that also before finals week. So you'll know where you stand or what you're missing or anything like that. Sounds complicated. Trust me, it's not. I've taught this several semesters. It's never been an issue. All right. What else do we got here? Standard boilerplate stuff for the rest of that. All right. So in this introduction, it's just an explanation of what you need to do. So for this week, this is kind of how I break it down each week. I'll tell you what you need to do on Palo Alto networks. I'll tell you what you need to do on Blackboard. So the same overview shot every single week. You can just click the checkbox. So here it needs you to create an account, get enrolled in the course. You will get that information like what you see here on the screen. Note that this is not showing up in your Blackboard system right now because this link is not the valid link for this class. So once I get that, I'll post it. We'll go over it on Thursday would be my guess. And then you guys can create the link and get enrolled. All right. There's also going to be a link to Palo Alto Networks Academy, so you don't have to go search it down. You can just click on the link straight from Blackboard. It'll take you over to that academy. Other than that, just throw an introduction into that bottom spot there. Explain what you are, your concentration, undergrad, grad, and why you're taking the course. So pretty basic introduction stuff. Like I said, as we go through it, I'll show you like a preview of some of the future stuff. So when we get down to like, say, firewall initial configuration, you're going to something like this, where it tells you to read the PowerPoint, whatever, go through the interactive initial configuration. Again, this is all going to show up on Palo Alto networks, and then you'll complete that quiz. And then on Blackboard, you're going to review that reading material, You can watch the video from whatever we record on Tuesday if you don't happen to be in class, and then complete the lab. And then the links to do all that is right in here. So there's reading material on Palo Alto networks, and then there'll be the PowerPoint presentation that I go through. And no, I am not a death by PowerPoint guy. I'm going to present off of it, but I'm really going to give you how it's used in industry when I'm going through the PowerPoint. So I'm not just going to read the PowerPoint. I hate that. I sat in class once upon a time. I hate that. Still in class. I don't like it. All right. Anybody got any questions? Like I said, don't take attendance. If everything's due on Sunday at midnight, I say that with a grain of salt. If you need another week or something like that, just email me. All right. I know things come up, everything in there. I just need something like in an email that says, hey, something happened. I need an extension on the date. Thumbs up, good to go. All right. If something comes up on Sunday and you're expecting a response from me on Sunday, I'll be honest, it's probably not going to happen this semester, especially on Sundays. So just assume that I granted you the extension. And this is recorded me saying that. So just assume that I'm giving you the extension. All right. For the quizzes and stuff like that, obviously don't fall too far behind. There is enough material in this class that it will bury you if you get too far behind. So don't think that you can just knock everything out during spring break. I assure you it's not going to work. I've had students that tried, did not work out well. All right. Labs, like I said, the way those will work, the score will come back to here. So it's not really going to be a document you fill out or anything like that. It's going to be you doing the lab on NetLab, and then that score will get kicked back to the Blackboard system. Essentially, it's going to go off whether or not you started the lab, how much time you spent in the lab, and whether you interacted with the lab. So what does that mean? That means there's not a grade. If you sit in there and you sit in there long enough and just wait and click around and do some stuff, you'll get the whole points. But guess what? When that skills exam comes, you're done. There's no way. You'll get 10 points for the lab, but you're going to fail the 200-point skills exam. All right.
So the labs would be GUI based or CLI?
GUI. So Palo Alto is primarily GUI based. Their CLI is actually, it used to be, for lack of a better term, neutered. It was really limited as to what you could do from the CLI versus the GUI side. It differs from that, like what you would see in Cisco. It's very heavy GUI side. Now they've actually built up the CLI side where you can do all the same scripting and all that other kind of stuff, but almost everything is GUI based. And that's because they know how to build a GUI, unlike Cisco. At the end of the day, that's the truth. I don't have a problem recording that either. That's the literal truth. Cisco relied too much on Java and other stuff back in the day, and Palo Alto stuff just flies. And when we get into the labs, I'll show you some caveats in doing the labs and how they work and all that. But again, we're going to demo that. I will record the first lab just so everybody knows how to go through that process, if in case you forget as you're going through it. But it's pretty simple and straightforward on how it all works. The best thing about this particular course versus some of the things that you've done like in Cisco courses is these are live pods, meaning when you configure the network and you get it connected to the internet, it's actually the internet. So when you're working around in your pod, I encourage you to go beyond what the lab shows. And that's really what we kind of do on Thursdays is, okay, we'll configure it, but here's how we can go further on and do something else. And so experiment with that. In other words, set up more blacklists and filters, set up other things that would do more of what the lab is talking about, and test that against the real internet. You have full reign to do everything inside that pod. Don't use it to go hack other people's systems and do that kind of stuff, but set it up so that it's your own test environment that's safe in order for you to do that. The more you go out and experiment in that lab environment, the easier that skills exam is going to be. So if you practice over and over of setting up the firewall and breaking up networks and assigning DMZ zones and all the good stuff we're going to learn, the better off that skills exam will be. Historically, the skills exam, it's taken students anywhere from 2 to 4 hours is usually what it takes for that skills exam. It all depends on how fluid you are with the interface. Did you actually do the labs, that kind of stuff. It's not timed. It's not like your schedule or anything like that. You just do the skills exam. If you start halfway through it and don't finish it, it's complicated to start it back up again, but there is a way to do that. And I'll show you guys how to do that at the same time. The idea is by the time you complete this course, you should have enough information to go take the PCNSA, which is their certified administrator for Palo Alto. So there's a lower level cert called the PCENT, and then there's the PCSNA one in there. And the students that have taken these exams, you'll actually get a voucher towards the end towards that certification. Every now and then Palo Alto kicks a bunch of free vouchers over, so you don't even have to pay for the cert. And I can kind of get you those assigned out. But students that have taken the course have definitely gone on to take the cert and they pass just fine. All right. Anybody have any questions? Last little piece, like I mentioned, when you're in the lab environment, poke around and play around, those are live firewalls, meaning it's not a neutered interface. It's a straight VM50, which is their virtual machine version of their product. And it's not like stripped down. That's the actual VM50 that would be deployed out there. So you guys are working on the same hardware that's literally out there that Palo Alto sells, kind of thing. And you have the full license package to do every feature under the sun in it. So take advantage of it, really learn it. There's some cool stuff you can do with it. All right. Any grad students in here? All undergrad in here? Okay. I know I've got Sam online.
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Yep. And let's see. Mallory, I know you're undergrad. Tayden, what are you? You probably sent a chat. Grad student. Okay, good. So like I said, for the grad students, when we get to the grad project, traditionally that was one thing. This semester is going to be a little bit different. You guys are definitely going to be doing something within the pfSense OpenSense realm. So once I get more information, and again, it'll be mid-semester, midterms, basically after week eight, is when I'll start giving you guys information for your grad project. But for you undergrads, you don't have to worry about that. All right. Anybody got any questions at all online? All right, I'm going to stop the recording here, at least if I can find